Get ready to battle. I had a bunch of potatoes and I had a thing of bacon that I needed to use up, so I got looking for some vintage recipes that would use both potatoes and bacon, and found a whole lot of recipes that I could have done. But I really couldn't decide between going the breakfast route or going on a side dish route, because those were the two main categories that I saw mostly in my search. And so I decided to do both. So before we begin today, I want to talk about the two recipes that we're actually going to be making and competing against each other. The first is an egg and potato scramble, which is our breakfast recipe for today. And that comes from a little booklet that was distributed by the United States Department of Agriculture that they called Potatoes in Popular Ways, which was part of a series of these brochures or bulletins that they were putting out. And this one specifically is from the Home and Garden Bulletin number 55 that was issued in October of 1957. Our second recipe today is a side dish that is from the Better Homes recipe book that was published in 1926 by the Boston Herald-Traveler, a newspaper. And it was a cookbook written by Marjorie Mills and distributed, and has quite a few good-looking recipes. We may be returning to that cookbook in the future. So stick around all the way to the end of today's video to find out which recipe is gonna win. Let's get started. I've got the ingredients set for both recipes here, but we're gonna be starting with our hot potato salad. Contender number 1. The first step is to dice 6 large potatoes. My potatoes were fairly small, so I just kept dicing until it looked like I had about the equivalent of 6 large potatoes. We're then gonna dump our diced potatoes into some boiling water on the stove, as well as putting 6 slices of bacon into a pan to fry. Once your bacon is cooked crisp, remove it to a plate with a paper towel so it can drain, and then set the bacon grease aside to use later for the dressing. Once the potatoes have boiled soft enough to pierce with a fork, drain them, and then we are ready to assemble our salad. The first thing we're going to add to our hot potatoes is about 3 tablespoons of finely chopped onions. Then, about 3 tablespoons of freshly chopped parsley, and about a half teaspoon of black pepper. Give that a good stir around, and then we're ready to make some dressing. The dressing is very simple. It's just 3 tablespoons of vinegar, and then 6 tablespoons of the bacon fat from before. We're gonna whisk that together, and then dump that over our hot potato mixture. Now that your bacon has had a chance to cool a little bit, we're gonna crumble that up into small pieces so that we can mix it into the salad. Dump that in there, give that a swish around the dish, and then we have our hot potato salad. Let's take a look at the finished product. Now let's take a look at contender number 2, the egg and potato scramble. This recipe calls for 4 medium potatoes very thinly sliced. I used my food processor. This recipe only calls for 2 slices of bacon, and again we're going to leave that bacon grease in there once our bacon is crisped up and we have pulled that out to drain on a paper towel. Into the bacon grease, put your potatoes and keep stirring those around until they're nice and soft. You also want to get some nice brown coloration on those potatoes as well. While the potatoes are frying, beat 4 eggs and add to that a 1/4 cup of milk. Keep stirring that in there. And then you're going to add a substantial amount of pepper to give that some flavor. Take your egg mixture and you're going to dump that right over your cooked potatoes. And this is where the scramble part comes in. You're just going to stir those around until the eggs start to firm up a little bit. And then at the bottom of the recipe, it actually mentions that you can do some different add-ins, including some cheese. So in the fridge, I had some Munster cheese. So I added about a half cup of cubed Munster cheese after the eggs had started to set up a little bit. I continued to stir that until the cheese was nice and creamy and melted into the mixture. Add our bacon back in and again give that a stir, making sure to lift off all of the stuff from the bottom of the pan. And then let's take a look at our final product. So I have a little sample of both here, and we're gonna see which is better. So the first thing that I have is our eggs and potato scramble. And I gotta say, this stuff is really not photogenic. It is a very pale yellow, it has the browns from the potatoes browning, it has the bacon in there, and the cheese just kind of gave it this creamy texture. It's very smooth. Let's see how it tastes. Yeah, I like that a lot. I was a little concerned that the eggs were going to overpower the potatoes, and that's just not the case at all. The potatoes actually did not stay in their round slices, but they kind of disintegrated as they were stirred into the eggs. And it makes this really nice, creamy, smooth texture. And you've got some really good flavors here. I would honestly make this one again. This is pretty darn good. But let's see how our hot potato salad is. Totally different than the scramble, obviously because there's no eggs, but also because we have that vinegar, which is giving it a different taste. There's a higher fat content with this, with all of the bacon fat that was in here, plus there's more bacon just in general in this. And I think it's nice with the crunch of the onions that's there, and you have the texture of the bacon, the texture of the potatoes. Everything really came together nicely. I also think this one presents better as far as visual appeal goes. But both of these definitely have their pros and their cons. So let's see how they actually stack up against each other. The hot potato salad gets 36 points out of 50. And as you can see, it did fairly well. I probably wouldn't have given this as high of a score for a repeat recipe, but my wife really liked it, so I bumped that up a point or two. The egg and potato scramble only got 31 points out of 50, mostly because of the visual appeal where we had to take off quite a few points. Flavor-wise, I actually liked this one better than the hot potato salad, but my wife actually liked it the other way around. That means that by the points, contender number 1, the hot potato salad from 1926, is our winner. Looking at our ratings board, our recipes for today, the hot potato salad and the egg and potato scramble, are going to be respectively in places number 6 and number 7. Make sure you join us next time on Recipe Reviver as we revive more vintage recipes. Can't wait to see you then.